The Swiss writer and philosopher Alain De Botton, I hope I've pronounced his name right, has put a fantastically strange, wonderful, odd, and controversial idea forward to the London City Council. Alain wants to build a temple to atheism in London city centre, as close to the city centre as he can get. He is looking for a million British pounds in order to be able to do this, and he claims that half of it he's already raised through private contractors and private investors. He's now turning to the public to attempt to raise the other half. Alain's approach to atheism is not new. It's rather an old one, initially engineered by the French, where they would take former churches and convert them to temples of reason, where they would gather and discuss ideas and concepts that at the time would potentially have been quite dangerous for them. Alain wishes to return those sorts of institutions to the general public, but it combines a philosophy that is quickly dying in atheism, where we place a degree of reverence on reason and logic and the scientific method, and everything that generally contributes towards spheres of intellect. In doing this, he's put himself directly opposed to Dr. Richard Dawkins and Mr. Christopher Hitchens, both of whom I have great respect for. And I also have a respect for Alain, because he's making a relatively valid point. And while I don't necessarily agree that we need to build a monstrous temple in London city centre, primarily devoted towards atheism, his concept and his rationalization is one that Richard Dawkins himself has agreed with. I think a lot of people are not paying attention to the background tone of this, and that is that one thing atheism tends to take away from the individual when they realize certain inherent truths is ritual, and the need for ritual in human life. As much as we would like to believe that that atheists are completely independent of things such as ritual, because they surround the superstitious, the unnecessary, etc. But atheists do place reverence on certain things. We hold things in very high order, to the point where we would almost gasp at them. I personally gasp at the beautiful complexity of a galaxy captured from far away, and the universe in general. My romanticism lies in astrophysics. So to believe that we don't need places, or effectively places, to revere our most loved intellectual possessions is a lie. As I said, Alain's project by itself may not necessarily be particularly clever or work, and it's far too controversial, and it does force atheism to flirt with religion. But his background idea of making it necessary for atheists to engage in rituals that are almost inherent in the human psyche. People need ritual, and perhaps it is time to give atheists a safe place to conduct those. I mean, even if this building was built and we had people simply reading from fine literature as opposed to sermon, and conducting works of art, creating works of art in these places, and they were safe havens for intellectuals. It's not that these safe havens don't exist now. You can find yourself a nice little cubbyhole to hide in with your friends, and be organised and engage in banter that is primarily engaging in intellectual, philosophical banter concerning atheism. But I personally would not sit in a pub in the British Isles, in plain sight of everyone, with 3 or 4 other friends, and discuss the irrelevance of faith. I find it in poor taste, and I find that sort of forceful outward atheism in poor taste. In the same sense, I find the forceful outward preaching of faith in poor taste. I find them equally poor and equally unpleasant, and thusly I'm as likely to turn away from the man in the street that is claiming that God isn't real as I am to turn away from the man that's claiming that he is. Because I don't believe we need those sorts of violent, destructive methods of getting our message across. Because in doing so, we're alienating people. A lot of new atheists really do seem to think that the best way of converting people to atheism, or rather for opening people's eyes, is to tell them they're stupid and to tell them that they're wrong and that we're right and they're wrong. And that is completely the incorrect way of going about approaching any situation with regards to human beings. People do not like to be told that they're wrong. They may be wrong, you may know it, I may know it, but you don't go and tell people that they are wrong. It's especially not about something that is a core thing, such as faith. Yes, we all know they're wrong, but try and do it a little more subtly, as opposed to busting in, kicking down the door, machine gunning the family with factual bullets. It's not the sort of way that I want to engage people with atheism. I would prefer to wean them onto reason, as opposed to shove it down their necks. It's far too forceful, and I don't think it's going to work. And it could and will backfire. You're tampering with, regardless of whatever way you want to look at it, even though atheism is non-faith conflicting with faith, when two different faiths come together, they are effectively non-faith conflicting with faith. If you have two strong, large religions coming together in a battle of words and actual wars, to one side or the other, they are of non-faith. They do not believe in their God or their doctrines, and so they are heretics. And in the same respect, atheists, to those who have faith, are heretics. So they're just viewing us the same way we are, that they would view a different religious oppressor. And as a result of which, the ability for us to get through to them is only as strong as historically interfaith wars have been. In such as this, atheists are in no position to rise up or conduct acts of violence in atheism's name, nor would they. No well-reasoned atheist would ever consider conducting acts of violence in atheism's name. It is nonsense. It is preposterous. And as a result, all you're going to do by shouting at people and telling them they're wrong is probably enforcing the fact that they think they're right. So that's an unfortunate side effect. And so that's a bit of a rant concerning that particular brand of forceful atheism. But when it comes back to Alain's ideas, his core crutch, his core concepts of atheism requiring ritual or a safe place to be an atheist, I think that's important, because not everywhere is safe for people to be an atheist. A counterpoint, well, is I can go to the park, I can look through a telescope, I can observe the universe, and for me that's a safe place to be an atheist. Not for everyone it isn't. Not everyone has those safe places to be an atheist, and all he wants to provide are safe places for atheism. And while, again, I'm not sure a gigantic temple in the centre of London's financial district is the best place to put it, but I could certainly see the concept of a place of reason being created, or a place of reminders of human achievement. Museums would be a fantastic example of that, but museums aren't exactly social gathering places. They're not places of communal interactivity. Unfortunately, I'm sure some people might think that they are, and some people might prefer that they are that way, but unfortunately that's not the way they are. So while it's not necessary to build a monstrous temple in the centre of London, I do think atheistic safe spaces are important, and they're going to become more important in the future as well, as people turn to secularism and people turn to atheism, and the hostility towards atheism increases, as it will, as history continues to go by, as time ticks by. And so creating those atheist safe spaces is not a stupid, unreasonable, or absurd idea. It just isn't. And that's all I have to say about it. Thanks.